Welcome back. In this video we're going to have a look at the string class. Now this is different than our primitive types, and this is something important to understand, is that it's actually a class and we're going to instantiate objects. Now at this stage that's not going to make too much sense, but we have to be careful. The first thing to note is the type is capitalized, and this is how we know that it's a class. Okay, but our variable names or our object references are going to be lowercase. So to create or declare a string, we just type string and then the name. Okay, just like you would declare a normal variable. Now, because this is a class, and you will see later this makes sense, to create a new string we can write this two ways. We can write becomes new string brackets and then the string literal inside of those brackets. Remember, string literals have double quotes. Okay, and this will work. Now this gets kind of annoying because strings are used so much, and so in Java this class doesn't actually require you to write this. Rather, you can just write it like you would a primitive variable. So we can write something like this. Okay, both of those will work. We'll see that new a little bit later in the course, but right now we can just use this for our string class, and you can keep using that even once we understand what a class is and what our objects are. Okay, so we can prove this using our, so we'll make a new one. So I've called it string class.java, and what we'll do inside here is we will create a string doing both the methods. So my string is new string hello. Okay, and we'll print that out. Noticing that I'm still using my camel case for my variable names. Okay. So I'll write that. We will compile that. So we've got string class.java, and then we'll run it. Okay, and it says hello. Now, if we go back up and we just write this, okay, compile it and run it, you see that it still works. So this is perfectly acceptable and a lot easier to read, and so it's the preferable way of initializing a string. With your string, you can do assignment also, so we can go my string becomes my. Okay, that's perfectly legal. Okay, if we compile that and run that, you'll see that it originally has hello, then we write hi into that bit of memory. Okay. Now, how this memory looks, we'll get to later in the course. Alright, so with the string, we have quite a few special operations we can do to it, and these are called methods. Okay, and as I said before, with this, methods, attributes, all of these words will make a bit more sense when we get to classes and objects. Alright, so let's have a look at our first method and this is the car at method. So the car at method gives us a car, okay, so not a string but a car, okay, so it's a single character at a specified index. Okay. Now the signature of this, let me just get, where'd it go? Okay, the signature of this looks like this. Okay, so how you read this is that we've got this, you can ignore the public for now, but we've got this method called carat. What's written before it tells us what it gives us back. Okay, so we get a car back. Okay, what's inside the brackets is the information we need to give it. So we need to give it an index. So let's go back to our example. So we've got string, my string, hello. And with your indexes, you need to be aware that the first character is at index 0. So if I was to do something like car, let's say first letter, and went my string dot car at 0, it would give us the H. And so let's prove that. So what we'll do is we'll do car first letter, and we'll do my string dot car at 0, and then we'll print that first letter out. Okay, save that, we'll compile that, and then we'll run that. See that we get the letter H, and we can keep doing that, so we can do letter 1, index 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, so that's the carat method. The next important method is the length method. Okay, and this gives the length of the string. So let me grab the signature once again. So we've got this here. Okay. And this returns an int, so we get a single number, which makes sense. So if I've got my string, let's say string, and we've got hello, okay, and I want to get the length of this as an integer. Let's just call it string length is going to be string dot length. Yeah, so length wrong. And then nothing inside the brackets. Okay, if there's nothing in the brackets in the signature, you include the brackets, but don't put anything inside them. So let's test that out. Let's see what happens here. So we've got hello. See that it gives us 5. So that's the length of our string. Okay, the next method we'll look at is the equals method. Sorry. I don't know what happened there. We'll have a look at the equals method. So I'll grab the signature for that. Okay. And here we can see that it returns a boolean, so a yes or no, or true and false. Okay, and it accepts another object. Now that object for us is just another string. So let's have a look at this. Just away. So let's say we've got string. I'm just going to call it string 1 is hello, and we've got string 2, that's also hello. Okay, and from here, if we want to see if they're equal, we can store the result in a boolean. Okay, so we'll say same string 1 dot equals string 2. Okay, now this doesn't have to be another string, it could be a literal. I mean, it doesn't have to be another variable, it could be a literal. Okay, so you could write something like string 1 dot equals hello also. Okay, so we can create that. All right. And that goes with any argument. You can always use a literal if you need. You will probably be aware of our logical equals. This won't work here because if we try and use this, it's just going to compare the memory addresses of string 1 and string 2, not the contents. Okay, and this is why we have to use this dot equals. So let's have a look at it in action. So I'm going to get rid of all this. And then we'll try both of those. So the string 1 is hello. And we've got string 2 is also hello. Then from there, I can say boolean same string 1 dot equals string 2. Okay, and print that out. So we'll get that. Now we can also try this other thing where we use a literal instead. So we say string 1 dot equals hello. Okay, so we'll save that. We'll compile that. And we'll run that, and we can see that we get true both times. Okay, if it's different, including case, we will get false. Okay, so we can see that. Now, on top of that, we have another method called equals ignore case, okay, which works very similar, except for it ignores if it's uppercase or lowercase. So it will just do that comparison. Alright, the next important method that we have is index of. Now there's 4 different versions of this, and we're going to have a look at all of them because you need to know when to use which one. So I'm going to give you all the signatures. So grab the first one, second one, third one, and fourth one. Okay, so here we've got index of, and this is trying to find the index of either a particular character or a particular string from the start or from a particular index. Okay, that's basically the differences. Now this says int here, but that is a character. I won't explain why right now. So let's have a look. So let's go to our example that we've been using. So let's call this string, and we will have hello world. Okay. So first thing to note, that's index 0. Okay. So if I did something like int, I'm just going to call this index A, and I did string dot index of O. Okay. What should happen is that I should get the index of this O. So we can go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's test that out and make sure that works. So we've got string, which is hello world, and then from there I'm going to have string dot index of O. Okay. We'll print this out, and we'll just make sure that we're getting what we're expecting. So we've got that, save that, compile that, and then we'll run that, and we can see that we get this 4. We get the 4 there. Now, maybe I don't want to look in this word, maybe I want to look in the next word, okay, for my O. So I want to start from index 6, okay, which is the W, and look from that point on. So to do that, I'm going to use the second version, okay, and I'm going to do string dot index of O, but starting from 6. Okay, so when it searches from the 6, it will include that as well. So let's try that. And this should give us 7 because there's an O in world. So that's index B, string dot index of O. From 6, and then we print it out. Gets big. So we'll save, compile that, run that, and we get our 7, which we were expecting. Okay, because that's where the O is. Now, if you try and search for something that isn't there, you should get a -1. So we'll test that out. So we'll call this index C, and we'll go string dot index of, let's just do Z. Okay, and we'll see what happens. So we'll go back in here, int index C, string dot index of Z. Save that, compile that, run that, and we get -1. Now, what about these two? So this first one is looking for a string, so we can do something like this. So int index D gives us, let's say, string dot index of LLO. Okay, so it will try and find the first occurrence of LLO, which we can see should be at index 2. So we'll run that. Int index D string dot index of LLO to system then index D. Okay, and you see that we get the 2 there. The last one there is very similar to this. We're looking from a string from an index. I'll leave that for you to explore. On top of this, there is a version of each one of these that is called last index of. Okay. And instead of looking from the start to the end, it looks from the end to the start. So it just finds the last index of a particular character or string. So you can explore that yourself also. The next method we'll look at is substring. Substring you'll find is very, very helpful because we can get parts of a string and often we want to do this. So let's do an example. Now let's grab the signature first so you can see what it looks like. And there's 2 versions of this. Okay. So let's grab the 2 versions. So this is the first version, and this is the second version. Okay. So one has a begin index, one has a begin and end index. So all we're doing is we're extracting a string from within inside of another string, and so we can go from a particular point to the end, or from a particular point to a particular character. Okay, so let's do an example again. So a string, hello world. Okay, and I can do something like this. So I can say string. Remember, I'm returning a string, so I want to store the result into a string. Might be string dot substring. Let's go from 3. Okay, so remember this is index 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's see what happens. So we're going to go string 2, string dot substring 3. Okay, and we'll alright, so if we can spelled system wrong. That's alright. This is the benefit of compiling often. Alright, so we can see that we started from index 3 and we've got low world. Okay, so we started from that index. We started from number 3. Remember, 0, 1, 2, 3. Alternatively, we can go to a particular point. So I can do substring, say 3 to 8, let's say. Now this is where you need to be careful because it doesn't include the character at the last index. It goes up to that character but not included. So if we do 3, 8, okay, so index 8, if we have a look at it, we've got E, which is 1, L, which is 2, L, which is 3, 4, space is 5, 6, 7, 8. The R is the 8th. Okay, it's the index 8, but we don't include it. So we include from 3 all the way to 7. Okay, and that's our substring. Okay. The last two methods that we're going to have a look at are the two lowercase and two uppercase. So these are just some handy methods when you need to change the case of your string. And all it does is converts the case. So I'll grab the signatures of those. They're right here. So I've got two lowercase and we've got two uppercase. Okay. So for these, what we're going to do is we've got a string. Okay, let's just use what we've been using, and we can do hello world again. Okay, and if we go, let's make a new string, string 2, we go string dot to uppercase, it will make that string all uppercase, and if we go to lowercase, it will make that string all lowercase. So let's have a look at that. We'll just use this we've got here. So to uppercase and to lowercase. Save that. This makes it all uppercase, and this makes it all lowercase. Now, there is a couple of other methods that you should have a look at, and I'll let you explore those so that you can try and use the API, which is really, really good practice for your professionalism. So, there's trim, there's replace, there's is empty, okay, and there's compare to. So check those out when you get a chance. They're also ones you need to know, but I'll let you try and read up on those and see if you can use them. When reading up, try and use the Oracle documents rather than something like Stack Overflow. Use the official documentation always when you can. Okay, so you can just go Oracle Java string class and you should find it in Google. Alright, that's it for the string class.